We will go ahead and start the meeting. It's now 6 p.m. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. And the time is 6 o'clock now. That's when the meeting's starting. Roll call of board members, District 1.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many family and friends of Dr. Miguel Vasquez and others that are here to join us this evening. So thank you for being here. My name is Patrice Horseman. I am a supervisor for District 1 and vice chair of the board.
District 2.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeronimo Vasquez, and I'm supervisor for District 2.
District 3.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Adam Hess. I'm supervisor for District 3.
District 4, Judy Begay, a current chair of the board, and I'm glad that you're all here this evening, being with us, and we have a lot of right now, so thank you so much. District 5.
Lena Fowler, welcome.
Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? We will now have the call to the public to allow for any comments from the public. Please note that issues presented during the call to the public that are not on the agenda cannot be acted on and by the Board of Supervisors for items not on the agenda. Individual supervisors may ask questions of the board considering the item. Only the speaker who has been called upon is authorized to speak. To encourage and respect the expression of all views, we ask that there are no disruptions. If you have any comments that are related to the public hearing items and open public meeting hearing, individuals are limited to 3 minutes for their comments. Clerk Daly will explain how the public can provide comments.
That would like to provide public comment, you can make your way up to the podium. And I will note, I did talk to Chair Begay just before the meeting. We are going to open item number 2, the proclamation item for Dr. Vasquez, to allow comment once we get to that item. So we'll save comments for that once we get to that item. And then also, if you are here to comment on the public hearing item number 20, we'll save comments until we get to the public hearing and open that up for comment. So if there's anyone else here to make a comment on anything else, again, you can make your way up to the podium. We also have comment cards that you can fill out if you'd prefer me to read out your statement. And also, if you've joined us on Zoom virtually, you can hit the raise hand icon that will appear if you hover towards the bottom of your screen. It looks like a hand to speak. If you've joined the meeting by telephone, you can hit *9, and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. And at this time, Chair Begay, we do not have any hands raised and no additional comment cards for anything other than the public hearing item and the proclamation item.
Thank you, Clerk Daly. We'll just give it another minute. Thank you.
We have no hands raised, Chair Begay.
Thank you, Clerk Daly. We will go ahead and continue with the agenda proclamation. We have item number 1, consideration possible action to approve a proclamation designating October 24th as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I would like to have Jennifer Rung come up here with the Victim Witness Services. She will go ahead and read the proclamation. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Yes? Okay, we're on a roll. My name is Jennifer Runge. I'm the Victim Witness Services Executive Director, and I come here with Laurel Shepard. She is our Navajo Nation's Program Director. So we'll take turns. So whereas October is annually recognized as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and whereas domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in intimate relationships used by one partner to exert power and gain control over the other, emotional, economic, or psychological threats or action, and whereas, although progress has been made toward preventing and ending domestic violence and providing support to survivors and their families, important work remains to be done. And whereas, domestic violence affects more than 16 million people every year in the United States, and Arizona has the 5th highest rate of domestic violence among women in all 50 states. And whereas, anyone can be a victim of domestic violence, regardless of age, gender, economic status, race, religion, sexual orientation, or education. And whereas domestic violence is the 3rd leading cause of homelessness among families in the United States. And
whereas at least 25% of all children witness domestic violence at least one time during their childhood. Witnessing domestic violence can lead to long-term consequences, including difficulty in school, substance abuse, and behavioral problems, and serious adult health problems. And whereas all supervisors and communities deserve access to culturally responsive, trauma-informed programs and services to increase safety and improve overall community awareness and responsiveness. And whereas we recognize that all survivors of domestic violence exhibit amazing courage, strength, and determination. And whereas we support and recognize the efforts of community organizations that provide services and support to survivors of domestic violence. Now, therefore, we do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge citizens to get involved to support our local nonprofit organizations serving survivors of domestic violence and encourage healthy relationships to help end domestic abuse.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask the board if they have any comments.
I do. Would you like a motion or comments?
We can do the motion.
At this time, I'd make a motion to approve October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and to approve the proclamation as read.
Second.
There's a motion by Supervisor Horstman, a second by Supervisor Vasquez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we go ahead and have the comments made by the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Horstman.
Yes, and thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for reading the proclamation. You know, when you take a look at the statistics, the grim statistics, 16 million people every year in the United States and Arizona are subject to domestic violence, with Arizona being the 5th highest rate. The 3rd leading cause of homelessness among families in the United States. 25% of all children witness domestic violence at least once during their lifetime. You know, this is not just a public health issue. It remains a national tragedy. And we are so thankful that you bring the proclamation forward to help us all raise awareness and be a voice for survivors and a voice for change. I know October 17th is the annual National Day of Recognition. Wear purple. And that again is to raise awareness. Everyone deserves to live. Some things I think we need to consider to really act and be activists for ending domestic violence is not only do we need to support all of our survivors, we need to hold perpetrators accountable. We need to also confirm the reauthorization of Violence Against Women's Act. We need to have better gun safety laws, since so much of this also involves guns. And we also need to make sure we have stiff legal penalties for cyberbullying and online harassment problems. It is a societal issue, and we need to all address it. We can't just have a day and say, let's support this. Gee, don't we feel good? We have to take action. So thank you for bringing this forward. I'm glad it's a day of awareness, and I look forward to further action. So thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes, thank you. For me, when I listen to this proclamation, first off, thank you for the proclamation. And what Supervisor Horstman said resonated me was freedom from violence, the ability to grow up in a safe, nourishing environment. And the fact that so many of our children witness this kind of violence, domestic violence in their homes, they model what they see. And so we have to break that cycle. And we only do that by teaching them differently, by learning different ways of conflict resolution, different ways to interact with each other and love each other, so that they don't learn and continue to perpetuate these negative habits that result into domestic violence issues. And so again, I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague that we need to take action, and it's something that each person has to reflect on and see how things that we can each change to help improve this and teach our young people with love about how we should be treating each other and demonstrate that, because again, they're going to model what they see. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Supervisor Hess.
Thank you, Chair. This one hits home. Unfortunately, it hits so hard as you were reading through that. There was so many numbers and so much facts that just don't sit well in my heart. And I've been going through, it's election year. I don't know if anyone knows that. But people are asking me about worldwide things, and I'm like, do you know that we have Health and Human Services that provides things like this, like your guys's victim witness program, and other organizations that we have within the county? And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we need to push through is there's help. And there are people out there that are ready, willing, and able, trained, and can hold that heavy burden, and you're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing is we need to have that. Let's make sure everyone knows that we have our organizational help within the county to help everybody. And that's, forget worldwide. Let's talk about right here. So I really appreciate you bringing that to, unfortunately, so many people, and hopefully that'll end. Keep up the good work, and I really, really appreciate the heavy burden you carry. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hess. Supervisor Fowler.
Thank you for reading the proclamation, bringing it to us. You have a very, very hard job. Just want to thank you for all you do for our people across our county, and just the organization is really important. Just the amount of work and volunteerism, and you're the first one on the scene, and that is so scary. So thank you, and you got to take care of yourself with you being right there in the front line as first responders. I just want to thank you. Domestic violence really impacts the whole family, and after the violence, what happens? What do you do? How do you get counseling? And even in some cases with traditional Native people, then it's the ceremonies. How do you start healing? And you're there for them. I just really want to thank you. And then our county attorney's office all work together with them, and just our sheriff. It takes a lot of agencies to really work on this issue, and we're working on it on all fronts. Right now, we have an event that we do every year that's going to happen on Saturday again, anti-bullying event, and it's a concert. We use different ways, different events to be able to reach people. In this particular one, we work on this event every year, and a lot of young people come, and a lot of times people that are abused are the ones that are in hiding. They don't want anyone else to know. And the children, they don't want anyone to know that their parents is doing, their experience in their household. So for that reason, we do different events, and this is one of the events on Saturday in Tuba City at the park, Tuba City Park. So just want to thank you, and it's hard to talk about because it is just really leads to mental health issues. That's one of the largest issues we have. Most of our ARPA dollars, federal dollars that came down went to mental health, into all of our departments and out into the community. And part of that is because of this domestic violence. And then that leads into all kinds of issues. So with our housing costs is so high, people that are being abused won't be able to leave home to get another house to live in right away, or take their children out of the situation. So any way that we can carry this message is really important, and your work is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. I also want to thank Laurel and Jennifer for bringing this proclamation to us and reading it. It means a lot, and certainly, you know, there are high percentages of see what the domestic violence in their home, you know, and that's something that they shouldn't be seeing, especially little ones. And so I would agree with every single one of my colleagues here, and I think we really need to go and really strategize again, you know, how we're going to approach this domestic violence, especially at the school, in the school system, like the lower grades, you know, that's where they need to know that it's not right, and that they need to also bring it forth if they have to, you know, to someone to know, let them know, because again, you know, when you get homeless because of this, you know, you don't know where to go to, and your family will say, well, it's probably, you know, you're the one that's in that situation, you need to get yourself out, but how do they get out? So I just want to say that, you know, I just so more funding, more shelters, and you know, I think that that's what we really need to go for, because and people that are like the two of you here, you know what to do, you know, when working with the law enforcement and others, you know, and see how, you know, we can all work together on this, and it's got to start from the home, where the DV is happening. So that's where I wanted to focus and talk about, and it's from the home, and how do we, you know, get them help. So, and then some girls in homes that I know of on the reservation, what happened is they pick up, they know what's happening, but then they get into these in themselves and into situations themselves. So that's the other thing that happens. So how do we break it? You know, it's all of us, you know, working together and trying to address it. And our funding's is short. You know, places for them to go to is short. You know, everything is not, you know, set out yet. So this is a real big issue that we really need to all work towards. So thank you so much for being here tonight and doing the proclamation. And I think we're going to have a picture taken here, you know, for our records and for the staff here. And then we'll go ahead and go to the other, the next proclamation. We have another proclamation at this time. Consideration and possible action to approve a proclamation celebrating and honoring the life of Dr. Manuel Vasquez. We'll go ahead and have Mr. David Vasquez, who's the brother of Manuel. Please come up, please, read the proclamation.
Okay, hi everyone. It's an honor to be here. This is about my older brother. I'm just going to read this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 whereas, and then we have a therefore. So here we go. Whereas, a cultural leader, mentor, teacher on October 6, 2024 with the passing of Dr. Miguel L. Vasquez. And whereas Dr. Vasquez was a passionate advocate of cross-cultural understanding and a dedicated professor of anthropology at Northern Arizona University who spent over 3 decades dedicated to working with East Asian refugees communities across Mesoamerica and the United States. And whereas in his 35-year career at Teaching Award and the Community Luminary Award from the state of Black Arizona. And whereas Dr. Vasquez was a tireless advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, a founding member of the Coconino County Hispanic Advisory Council, where he was chair from 2006 to 2011, and a diversity. And whereas, in addition to being a professor of anthropology, he also served on the boards of the International Alliance for Sustainable Agriculture, El Pueblo de NAU, Arizona University, Museum of Northern Arizona, and was elected to the Flagstaff an applied cultural anthropologist. His proudest work was collaborating with the Hopi Cultural Preservation Office and Third Mesa community of Bakavi. Am I reading that right? Bakavi, okay. To restore garden terraces in Bakavi Canyon to their social, cultural, and economic role with help from NAU professors and students. And whereas Dr. Brother and great-grandfather, who believed deeply in the power of applied anthropology to foster cross-cultural code, needed no more than ever. No more now. No, I'm sorry. He felt the world needed now more than ever. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Coconino County Board of Supervisors do hereby celebrate and tireless efforts to create a more equitable world.
Thank you, David, for
Okay.
reading the proclamation. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve the proclamation recognizing Dr. Miguel Vasquez and his contributions to Coconino County.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I would like to go ahead and I think we have a video, right?
Okay. Should I
Where
sit down?
Once we're done with comments by the family and the cards that you gave to Lindsay, she'll go ahead and name you off to come and make a comment, okay?
Okay, I'll sit down and get back up.
Home is not necessarily a structure, but it's the land that we live on, the land that we sing and dance on, and most importantly, that we say our prayers on.
All our spiritual beings are here. All our medicinal plants are here. Everything that we could use, it's here. And that's why this is sacred to us. And everything that's here, it's a city now, but this was home. This was home at one time. We could just park up under a tree and call it home.
This is indigenous to so many tribes in the Southwest: Diné, Hopi, Supai, Hualapai, Apache, Paiute. We've all called this home. And in a lot of ways, we guard this now. This is our homeland, and we are still occupying the space which we have the birthright to. Land ownership for Western ideals, we don't view it that way. We view it as being communal, and we all
Northern Arizona University, and I've been working now for the past almost a year with the Unsheltered Relatives program here at NACA here in Flagstaff. Given a lot of thought to what exactly a home is, and it means, you know, where your ancestors came from and have been, and where they're going to be, where your family from here on out is going to be. And so Flagstaff for me has become a home, become part of my roots. RARE stands for Rapid Assessment, Response, and Evaluation, and it's a project that was developed through the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Minority Health. I train people and send them out to do this work. So this is a methodology to be able to, what are the things that they want to get in their community? What are the things that they want to eliminate from their community? And what are the things that they want to avoid? And they, as members of the community, would have much better access and much better trust and rapport than I or any other outsider in those communities.
My name is Jacqueline Salabai. I am Kia Ani Nashla Tachitni Bashashin Tobaha Edishache do Twititni Edishanala Akut Alastan Shol. I'm originally from the Lower Greasewood area, and my mother's name is Charlene Salabai and my father's name is Jonathan Salabai. My role is currently the Community Development Director here at Native Americans for Community Action NACA, and I was the lead for the rare assessment, so working hand in hand with Dr. Vasquez, who is our consultant. The rare assessment is very unique to the Flagstaff area. It's really important that we gather those voices, specifically with the indigenous unsheltered relatives. The unsheltered relatives are often pushed aside or, they're disregarded. They're basically censored out of our community.
Yeah, Jalen Red Hair Unisha. Ashihin Ishle, Twitter Chidi Bushachi, Twitter Chidi Dushache, Sis Naja and Dashanella. My mother is May Julian Begay from Forest Lake, Arizona. My father is Stanley Yazzie from Shanto, Arizona. My hometown is in Kayenta, Arizona, and I am from Forest Lake, Arizona. I've been part of the research team, and we've gone through different topics of the rare assessment. As researchers, we are Indigenous, and so with the rare assessment, it really kind of gives people an opportunity to see where our community members are coming from. We're just trying to ask questions where we can draw out data and use this information to help people and educate them, and it really helps. So it's something to reference.
She e Kyra Vanderveer Yanisha, Tapaha Nishla, Tachitni Bashashin, Sanjakana Dashache, Sitnajani Dashanala. I'm Navajo and I'm from Jedito, Arizona. I'm the Masters of Social Work intern at NACA, and prior to being an intern, I was a volunteer with the program. The RARE project was really fun. It's one of the first projects I've did outside of school that involved the Flagstaff community. So being able to do it in person was really fun, and working with the different NACA employees and people outside of NACA and meeting new people was really nice.
My name is Mark Billigodi. I am Hopi from the village of Kikotsmovi. I am Sun Clan. Being that I've been homeless myself, it's not fair to us that, we're the ones that have to be pushed out. Being that I had gone through a lot of struggles with law enforcement here, and I just want people not to go through that same predicament that I went through. I had to go through that, and I brought myself back into town eventually, but this is home for a lot of people. That's just the way it is, and that's just the way it's going to always be. They're not going to be able to take us out of here, because this is where we belong. This is our place. This is our sacred mountain. They don't consider it sacred. It's something that makes money for them. Rare seemed like something to get into, and it was really, if it was happening back then when I was going through all this homelessness and everything, I wish I had somebody there to help us out and that we could look to and ask for help. One of the reasons that I'm helping them now is so I could help the people now and not have them go through the same thing that I did.
My name is Somana Tutsi. I'm from the village of Hopevella, and I'm from Coconino. I am a community organizer, so I was tapped for the rare assessment to be able to help do surveys and things like that, because it was part of the work that I was already involved with. We've been doing unsheltered work.
not a lot that he's done in the community and taking, supporting indigenous, cultures and doings and things. I just want video. I just, go ahead, by Lindsay, your name, to. We do, fill out some, go ahead, comment.
Here we can read cards called here.
Good evening, Kaiser. I just really want to post this link. Had the hour for an and this for he's a very wire and rare and brown because and our and I thought we have y'all where is that and what is so I got you and gives us
Thank
And many comments.
Yeah, save, I don't know where, but he's or many things kind of we had a stuff to talk about. Have this okay. Here in a special amenity, and it was Jean Muir, very so moved from that he was and from Hiki's quoted to and the fathers. One of the reasons is technically when he took our we did and things like Roundup very much.
Yeah.
Madam members, I'm Speaker Curran, Hispanic Council here. Along, as you heard, Dr. our council is our view, and so that he was the one he as you know work with editors there and we were so everything but this time this is yeah, I'll just change him and out. Well,
he was with the community. Learn was his students, they come were big boys in it and stop to the so the student see I do that they continue that county they take to these them is always and water or us we come home it was night after but I'm concerned his health and we're taking him to the family.
Frank, I fell alleged to just born years. Not sure what the circle like really talk and then give me a out and the counts you see him while well, you tonight. We call it go. I mean, so I wasn't sure it's going to ever and I want to go and vision this.
For the
Mary?
Allowing comment, just kind of make hand any you grab and look saying I wasn't on and just hold that deeply, which I think professor it's of that really. So when who mentioned of that work for myself tested mentally for his work to be good, but living in us all in my past experience powerful had me I would while studying human all of that he does weeks, you know, my
some reflects in many of my all to experience practice as he will things their assessment of like just a little I don't know about his family rare to have a person was our dedicated process she developed our community 2022 rare to present method of the center flags used to and program like staff titled comprehensive for our basis US sites of our relative staff and to work. We all have the most recent of us legacy RT serve and lyric and converts to indivisible. So much in so much substance and committee quote words knowledge experience in his approach to complex innovative storytelling Alice based on nation as quality.
Next.
I'm always headphones. Resters in the for as well or the managers and audio queue for dedicated done a lot for people come whenever we whatever. And I'm one of those with the flight who with that those most I appreciate that in there to was at also at some he's always he really connects the gap when I'm close to man for a time for what I'm limited on time always say what you feel and save me time to even feel gave me talking within our community that for us. So I want to say Indigenous people, he was a good relative understood for us and he so sorry to us in here in flight staff and calling his
hey, I want the board something also.
I was I can't start, but thank you everyone for being here and why we're here in Coconino County. From brother and so it has been these last gratifying to share and care the credit for the work that he was behind the scenes having. And you know, I love from him and I feel very blessed to be his son, to continue his legacy in a good way. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Supervisor Horseman.
Yes, and thank you for wonderful to see different ways. So we know he's loved man, a husband, father, brother, great grandfather, great grandfather, and he's the lasting my lives that he touched I got to work with my FQ building a better community. We're here also to celebrate the legacy teacher, his lifetime commitment for equity and inclusion, his activist for change. He certainly helped a little bit better place. And what kind of your family and friends, condolence to the family, I tell you that. But I'm very thankful that he also, children who also have saved the world a little bit, that good thing, the Board of Supervisors, to continue with that. I'm going to turn it over, but great condolences to the family. His love lives on.
All right, I'll find my warrior spirit. Proud of you, man.
And my father 8 years ago was that the oldest. It seems like it's the families take care of the mother, the ground. And, you know, ones you never get rid of. I want to say thank you so much, you know, behind. It's something about how he spoke, how within Coconino County. So for him, and I just so say thank you for it. And it's the family of Dr. Vasquez, you know, to just have and say, you know, being there for everyone and just always there to fight, you know, and everybody else within the county. So just
Thank you, Madam Chair, friend. Can't remember your name now. It's one of you. A big hug. Someone like that is very painful about an individual. It's individuals like him, this world, to continuing the fight that we. So to learn about ourselves, as I really wanted to get involved in the rare talk a couple of times, our community, and just to learn more of the process. But it's individual out and being wanting to themselves and their own knowledge with people. It's just really about the pain all the time, and for communities and move on. That light is, and we can appreciate just that attribution that we're, and for your family, do this experience of you and all of us, you know, because we all felt the, it just really shook us up when we heard about it and started communicating with Geronimo and trying to be there for him. And we're here for each other all the time. So thank you.
Share. All right, let's try it again. Sorry about that. I'm just honored and lucky to have grown up in this town with the great people that are here, people that make change, kind of motivate me to be here. I've known the boys for a long time, and you know, I got to have a great conversation with your brother, talk about wrestling. That's always a good thing. Talk about sports, talk about everything but what was going on in the room, and trying to get you away, trying to make you smile. It's not easy. You guys are strong. You guys are very strong. What a great, great family. Very proud of you. My parents are educators, retired now. They touch so many lives without even trying, without even knowing. And the byproducts is amazing. So be proud. Be proud of that he was a teacher and that he was a local. And this is our community. And it's in his room. And I'm just very, very lucky to be here and be part of it. And thank you. We talked at length when it was in front of a camera, which was way easier. So I'm always here for you. So let me know what you need. I'm here. Thank you.
thank you. Vasquez.
Yeah, thank you. Again, thank you, everyone. And I just wanted to say that, you know, he loved all of you and he invested his time into his community because that was his passion. And I really liked what you were saying about why, because that was always him. You know, why are they like that? Why don't you like them? Or why do they act that way? He always wanted to know. And I think in the NAU bio, they said he had over 12,000 students over the course of his career that took his classes. And, you know, NAU is now a Hispanic serving institution. When he arrived there, it was just he and Dr. Camacho that were there in 1989. And so they helped build that foundation. And there are hundreds of students across Arizona that were from Tucson and Nogales and Yuma that couldn't go home for Thanksgiving. And so my dad opened up our home and we would always have them over for Thanksgiving and have a big party. And so, you know, my dad loved to eat and he loved to party. So, and that brings up to my point in my announcement is we are going to have his celebration of life at NAU on Sunday, November 3rd from 1 to 3. And then we're going to have a community potluck dinner at Killip Elementary School from 4 to 7. And so We thought those were the two places that he did his most profound work, and that he would be a great way to honor him. So it's open to everybody. If you'd like to come and participate, please do. We'll have fun and we'll continue the party. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and so picture time. Who wants to be in the picture? Friends? Is he, his family? His family, he's gonna be out there with the family. We just start, yeah. Okay. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? We are going to go on with the consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by a single motion. Are there any items that the board members wish to consider separately?
If I may, Madam Chair,
Supervisor Horstman.
could we please pull for separation number 5, 9, and 10, please?
Are there any other items that we want to pull? There being none, may I have a motion? Oh, hold on. 10. Okay. Okay, so may I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Supervisor.
at this time, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 3 through 13, exclusive of number 5, 9, and 10.
Second.
Third.
Motion's been made. There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Going back to item number 5, consideration and possible action to appoint Shannon Greenwood to the City of Flagstaff, Coconino County Library Board to fill the position vacated by Beth Vesters, in which the term expires October 31st, 2026. Supervisor Horstman.
Yes, and I don't know if Shannon Greenwood is online at all, or if she's here. The reason I asked just to pull it is, once again, we in Coconino County have a number of boards and commissions that our community members get involved in to help us and to help our community with providing of services and input and information that really not only helps us as a board, but helps our community in various aspects of services, including our Flagstaff Coconino County Library. And so I just wanted to pull this to thank Shannon Greenwood for her stepping up and being willing to serve in this position. And with that, I'll make the motion, but others may want to make comments as well.
Are there any other comments by the board? There being none, motion?
Motion to appoint Shannon Greenwood to the City of Flagstaff Coconino County Library Board to fill the position by Beth Verstrat, and thank her very much for her service, in which the term will expire on October 31st, 2026.
Motion by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9. Supervisor Horstman.
And again, I don't know if Kangata Colin or John Deemer or Jabara Nichols are on. But if not, again, I would just thank them very much for putting their names forward to serve on the Workforce Development Board and thank them for their service. It's people like them that help us be able to serve all of our community and all the members in our community. And with that, any other comments?
Mr. Hess?
Yeah, this is the other one I wanted to pull also because it is with you, Supervisor, and just want to thank them for stepping up and answering the call. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? There to be none. Oh, Supervisor Vasquez.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize these three individuals. I know Kangata real well, and I know Jabbar real well, and I'm really excited the fact that they're going to be coming on board and being part of the Workforce Development Board and help us as we transition and with the new vendor that'll be working in our county and working with them and guiding them, providing services to our community. It's really exciting, and that's what makes our county function, are those public servants that volunteer to be on these different boards so we can provide the services that we do. And so I just wanted to say thank you to all of them for joining the board, and I look forward to working with them. Thank you.
Any other comments? There be none. May I have a motion, please? Is there a motion?
At this point, I would make a motion gladly for the appointment and approval of the Coconino County Workforce Development Board for new members, Kangata Colin, John Deemer, and Jabara Nichols for a term of October 15th, 2024 through October 15th, 2026.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Vasquez. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
And I asked to pull this. I know that there's going to be further discussion on this, but I thought I'd like to hear a little bit more. And it sounds like so would Supervisor Fowler a little bit more with what is going on with this. So thank you.
Thank you, Siri. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. So you do have 2 items today to formalize the fiscal year 2025 allocation of secure rural schools or forest fee funds that come to the county. These are federal funds that we discuss every year during the budget process. They're very important to the county. They are divided up by 3 titles, titles 1, 2, and 3. And they are used to support county schools and roads and some other initiatives based on the titles that we receive. So the item on consent is for the Title I allocation, which is 85% of the dollars that are received. And Title I can be used for schools and for roads funding. So as a reminder, we did have about a few hour session on this during the budget development process. So this is formalizing those discussions, but just to summarize those for anyone interested in the audience who maybe missed that. The decision this year was to change the allocation and put 90% towards schools and 10% towards roads. And so what that looks like in the allocation that you're being asked to approve is that the 10% funding will go to help support the roads that help with things like school bus routes and some of those more rural roads. And then the schools portion was increased, and there would be a set aside created for the superintendent of schools office to continue some of the programs that they've started over the past few years. They've been the recipient of extensive federal and state dollars that are starting to phase out and starting to dwindle. And so the request was to set aside the additional allocation for things like continuing teacher professional development and some of the other really important programs that have been going on in the superintendent of schools office with federal grant funding. And so what you see before you in terms of the recommended distribution is that change. And then the majority of the dollars for schools, over $1 million, gets distributed to the various school districts as well, based on a formula that includes student count and federal lands in the district. And so that's what you have as the recommendation for the Title I dollars with this consent item. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about that.
Supervisor Horstman?
Yes, and thank you for the clarification. I can tell you the way it's written, it's not clear what we're voting on. And that's why I also wanted to pull it in. I think what you're saying, this is for the Title I distribution and the request. And I think what we're voting on is a 90% to schools and 10% to roads. Is that what 10 is?
That's correct.
If I may? I'd make a motion if, oh, I'm sorry. That's why I was looking.
Any other
if you want
comments?
anything.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you for clarifying, Siri. I just, this secure rural schools, it's not easy and automatically comes to the counties. We have to fight for this every year. Not just our county, but many, many counties benefit from these dollars. And across the country, we have a partnership with all the other counties in the name of our schools and our roads to be able to get these fundings. I want to thank Supervisor Horstman and Gregory, who's not in the audience, and our school superintendent. They were able to advocate for this funding again, made another trip there. And this is one of the items that it's not a guarantee that we're going to get. And yet the schools, our schools really benefit from these dollars. If they don't have this, they're going to have to cut some of their programs. These are our schools within our counties. It has a severe, in some cases, severe impacts. It's majority of their budget. So I just want to thank you for your explanation and just to bring that out, that this is a federal funding that is always on our federal agenda, always advocating and sending letters in various ways just to get this funding reallocated. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fowler. Yeah, I just want to thank the delegation for going out and really battling for these dollars. And certainly, you know, that's what our job is to do. And I'm really thankful, you know, that our staff are doing that along with some of the board members. And it's greatly appreciated because we cannot cut services, especially if it's in regards to education. You know, that's one of the things that we really have to make sure that we get funding for. And just going out there and again soliciting those dollars is something of great value. Supervisor Vasquez.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate the importance of this programming for providing funding for our rural schools, the ones that are out there. And are very small and don't have very many other funding sources, this is crucial for them to be able to operate in some of these areas that don't have the tax base to provide the funding to have their schools. And so we need to continue to fund these schools through this program. And so we thank those of you that went to lobby and really push to get the funding to continue. And we need to constantly be vigilant and not allow these funds to be lost in the future because our schools depend on them so much. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Are there any other comments? A motion?
If I may. Madam Chair, at this time, I would move to approve the distribution of Title I Secure Rural Schools, AKA Forest Fees, received in fiscal year 2024 for 90% for schools and 10% for roads.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Horstman, seconded by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now done with our consent agenda items 1 through 13. May I have a motion to resolve as a Flood Control District Board of Directors?
So moved.
Motion made by Supervisor Fowler, second by Supervisor Vasquez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we do have a an item here for the Flood Control District consent agenda,
If I
item
may.
number 14.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
I see that Julie Lead is in the audience, and I would like to remove it from the consent agenda to have this as an action item and a discussion item.
Okay, motion's been made by Supervisor Horstman, second by Supervisor Fowler. It's being removed by the from this consent agenda to be heard. So we can go ahead and do that.
Are you going to lead this, or it's consideration of possible action to appoint Julie Lead to serve as the Flood Control District Interim District Engineer? You want to carry that forward and introduce us?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Lucinda Andriani, the Flood Control District Administrator, sends a regard. She is actually leading a dinner tonight with the wildfire group that's here visiting in our community to learn about the impacts of wildfire and what we can do to help reduce that. That said, we have Julie Lead here in the audience. So introduce you as, and thank you for serving in this capacity. You're welcome to take the podium if you would like as well. Introduce yourself. We all have worked with Julie on many engineering projects in the community, and she's, I think I can say this with much confidence, one of our best engineers locally here in our Flagstaff community. So thank you, Julie, for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity. Board of Directors, Flood Control District. It is an absolute pleasure working for the district and for the community. I take great pride and pleasure, and it's an honor to be here in front of you this evening and to be doing this fantastic and excellent work that the district continues to deliver. And I've been fortunate to be involved with it for many years in different roles. And this is the next step in that process. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So are there any comments by the board? Supervisor Horstman?
Yes, and Julie, we all know you. But thank you for being with us. And we all know you because you've been working with Coconino County, our flood control district, and quite frankly, with county members of the Board of Supervisors now for years. And we look to you for your expertise, your service, your willingness to commit during a time of crisis for our community members. And you've always delivered. And so I saw this and I was so happy to see this and welcome you on an interim basis to the Coconino County family and community, which you've been part of anyway. But I'm really excited about this. Your service continues, and we so appreciate your expertise and what you have to offer to Coconino County. So thank you so much.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for coming on board. We had the opportunity to really work together on the Harold Ranch Road projects and some of the flood mitigation stuff. And I just have complete confidence in you as our engineer and look forward to working with you moving forward. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Supervisor Fowler?
Thank you for joining our team. Really appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, for wanting to work with us, and we'll work with you. So thank you so much. Okay, so do I have a motion? Motion made by Director Horseman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Hess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. May I have a motion? Oh, yeah. Yes. May I have a motion to resolve as the Board of Supervisors?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Director Vasquez and second by Director Hess. May I have a motion to resolve as a Health District Board of Directors? All those in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same motion carries. Okay, now we go. May I have a motion to resolve as the Health District Board of Directors?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Supervisor Hess, second by Supervisor Vasquez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any items that the board members want to consider separately for items number 15 and 16?
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Horseman?
I'd like to withdraw number 16 from the consent agenda for further discussion and individual vote.
Okay. Is there a motion for item number 15?
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion then to accept the consent agenda, item number 15.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Supervisor Director Horseman, and second by Director Hess. All in favor, to approve item number 15 on the consent agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're back to item number 16.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, while Michelle and Izzy are coming up, I just wanted to make a quick comment before they share with respect to this item, and that is to just give a little bit of kudos and praise because what Michelle is going to talk to you about is a result of the work that, in particular, Michelle and others at HHS, the trust and the respect that the Arizona Department of Health Services has for Coconino County and their ability to get work done and to get funds out and into the community. Had actually made a phone call to Michelle about 9 months ago, or a year. It was okay. Well, I guess it feels like it was 9 months ago. So I guess like 3 or 4 months ago, saying we've got this money and we need to get it out, and we know you're the county to do it. And so Michelle said, "Let me see what I can do." And so she's going to share with you what this $2 million that we're going to be able to bring into Coconino County as a result of that reputation.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair Begay and Supervisor Horseman, for this opportunity. This grant is about partnerships, and we could not have done it without our community partners and our county partners. We are about building upon those elements that when funds are cut, we go looking to see how we can find them, help individuals. And this is all about domestic violence. So talk about the best day. You know, I took to heart the words you guys said when we read the proclamation earlier this evening about the hardship and working with individuals that have suffered so much in our communities. And we have the most amazing group of people that do this day in and day out. So we're going to be able to put $2 million in a year out to 5 of our four nonprofits and 1 of our county partners. So I'm going to turn it over to Izzy real quick to talk about what he's going to be able to do with the money with juvenile detention, like juvenile court. Thank you, sorry. And then I'll talk really quickly about the other 4 entities.
Thank you. Just first off, want to thank HHS for reaching out to us to provide funding to continue our services and add services to better serve our community. So I'll just summarize some of the services that they're going to be offering for us. They will be paying for now 2 Halo Hope beds, which we have that will serve juveniles that are referred to detention center who are experiencing DV and mental health issues. And this serves both locally in Flagstaff and also with our members of our tribal lands. And we also added a new position in our transition school that serves 30 hours a week of a support person to help high-risk students who are experiencing homelessness, have run away from home, experienced domestic violence, and to help build protective factors and assist in school engagement. We're also able to add a new position in PAGE for a clinician that provides 2 hours a week of counseling services. And it also helps pays for counseling services on our youth that are at the Halo Hope bed, provide life skills, case management, transitioning back into the home. And last but not least, also provides services in our mountain biking club and yoga regulation classes, which helps provide safe outlets for kids to be able to manage and regulate themselves. Thank you.
So our other nonprofits that will be getting funding will be Housing Solutions of Northern Arizona. They're going to be able to put iron door locks on 29 of their units at Sharon's Manor. This will allow fresh air to come into these homes. They'll feel safe, protected. Northern Arizona Care Service After Assault, NACASA, they'll be able to buy new equipment for their Grand Canyon and Williams area for their new location there. Northland Family, this was going to be huge. During COVID, they hand washed dishes. Both of their shelters did not have a dishwasher, so they will be able to put a dishwasher in both of their shelter homes. Keyless security systems, I mean, things we take for granted here, these are things that are going to benefit them, and they're going to be able to do this in the next year. Naming the youth shelter, the adult shelter, trauma, there's a lot of things happening that they're going to be able to do the next year. Victim Witness is also getting a substantial amount of funding to be able to continue their fleet services. Vehicles take a beating. They go a lot of directions. So they'll be able to do that as well as provide services to the community. And then HHS is also going to be working in this area as well in collaboration with our partners. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions by the board? Supervisor Horstman?
First of all, thank you. This is so great. And I think it also speaks volumes to the trust they put into Coconino County because of the staff we have and the excellent service we've been able to provide our community. So I want to thank the HHS staff. I want to the juvenile justice system, and just for the great work. And you're right, what a great time to be doing this in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Week. And we were talking about being there to support the victims of domestic violence. What better way to do it than through this type of programming? So thank you, and thank you, Michelle, for your leadership and for getting this done. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Supervisor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say thank you for your leadership in taking us to this point. It felt like we'd never get here when we approved the money 2-3 years ago, and we're finally seeing it blossom and coming to fruition. And so thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kim, because you were a big part of that as well, leading through it to get to this point. And it's really exciting what this money is going to be able to do. And it's so important. And it's an example of the America Rescue Plan money being used for services. When we made those decisions, there were other counties that just kind of divided up the money and gave it as special projects to folks, but we didn't do that. We broke it up and looked at services, core services in our county, what was needed to spread those services around. And this was one of the big ones that we focused on. And so just gives me a lot of joy to see that we're finally at that point where we're about to execute. And so congratulations and thank you for all your hard work.
Supervisor Hess.
You hit it right. This is exactly what I was talking about when I spoke about it, is the services that we provide throughout this county. And I really appreciate the hard work you did to attaining these funds and then getting to the people that need it and to the locations. And this is exactly what is needed, and the hard work put in is appreciated and seen, and make it work. And we'll just continue to help people in this county, in this communities, and because this is what we do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Supervisor Fowler?
Yeah, thank you. Everybody said everything, and it's just, all I can say is just thank you, but it goes directly into the communities, directly, and that's what's needed. We don't just talk about it. And when we had this long conversations about where our focus is gonna be, we really talked extensively about getting the money and the services directly into the hands of the people that are gonna make a difference. And that's what you're doing here. Thank you so much to you and your team. I know there's a lot of partnerships involved in this. It's not just, and that's how we all work, is in partnership. So just want to thank you all for doing that.
Thank you. I am so grateful for our partnerships with our county departments as well as our nonprofits. We wouldn't be here today without them.
I also want to thank all of the staff here, and certainly, we we get as much funds as we can as board, and then also with your help doing all the grants and grant writings, and just really going after the grants, and we're very supportive of you all. And I just want to say thank you for all the hard work that you guys do out there for our communities. And so thank you very much. With that, is there a motion for item number 16? Horseman.
So moved to approve contract CTR 073351 between Coconino County Health and Human Services as a health district and Arizona Department of Health Services to begin on September 1, 2024 and end on August 31, 2029 in the amounts as set forth and broken down in the agenda.
Motion made by Director Horseman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Fowler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, motion carries.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to resolve as a Board of Supervisors? Motion made by Supervisor Vasquez and second by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. At this time, we will be going into executive session. May I have a motion to enter into executive session for item number 17 to obtain legal advice?
So moved.
Motion made by Supervisor Horseman.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Hess. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Confidential executive session, and then we'll return to the public session when done. Thank you. We just got done with our executive session, and for item number 17, we are on item number 18. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Supervisor.
given to attorneys regarding their authority to settle in the Walmart Properties, Inc. v. Coconino County, TX 2022-00352, an active tax valuation appeal.
Motion made by Supervisor Horseman, second by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the direction given to attorneys? We did that one, right? Okay. Now we are to item number 19, public hearing, consideration, and possible action of the review of comments received during the 45-day comment period and approval of FY25 Title III projects under Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act. Siri?
Good evening, Chair and members of the board. So this is our second item for Secure Rural Schools or forest fee funding. It is the Title III, which is 7% of the allocation for Coconino County under that act. Title III is limited to very few uses. And so historically, the county has used it to help offset the cost of patrol on federal lands. The Coconino County Sheriff's Office does EAs to do billing for the first, depending on which national forest, the first few hours of that patrol. So they are keeping track of their hours and their costs for that. But the amount of patrol that they do on federal lands far exceeds the amount that they have billing with their IGA. So it becomes a general fund cost at that point. But Title III is one of the allowable uses for, or patrol rather, is one of the allowable uses for me, has put our allocation towards this to help further offset some of those costs. It still does not fully offset all of the general fund costs every year for patrol on federal lands, but it does help. So this item is to close the public hearing. The public comment period has already taken place. That public comment period is closed, but we will have a public hearing this evening for anyone who wishes to comment. That is a requirement of the act. We also provided the requisite notification to the Resource Allocation Committee, which is the the recipients of the Title II dollars, which is required, needed to then begin expending the funds under Title III. And I don't know, Lindsay, if any comments were received in your office. Finance did not receive any comments for the public hearing.
Our office did not receive any comments as well.
So at this point, we would just ask that we close the public hearing, and then we can ask the board for their votes.
Okay, so there were no comments at this time from within the room here and also from the outside. So I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Are there any, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Supervisor Vasquez, second by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, now we have item number 20. We have a public hearing consideration of appeal 24-002 and appeal of the Planning and Zoning Commission's approval of CUP 24-015 request for a conditional use permit for a 195-foot wireless telecommunications facilities and possible adoption of resolution 2024-61 upholding the Planning and Zoning Commission approval of CUP 24-15 on a 0.23 acre portion of a 9.89 acre G zone parcel in Alpine Ranchos. The property is located at 16105 Starridge Trail and is further identified as parcel number 303-25-001H. The property owner is Mark Sorensen of Flagstaff, and the applicant is Comnet Wireless of Castle Rock, Colorado, pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3. The board may enter an executive session for consultation with attorneys for legal advice. So,
Thank you, Chair Begay, members of the board. Like you had noted, this is an item for a public hearing and consideration of an appeal. The board does have the option to go into executive session with this particular item if you would like advice from attorneys.
does the board wish to go into executive session for this item?
Not at this time for me.
No. Okay, we will go ahead and proceed with the public hearing then.
Thank you, Chair Begay, members of the board. With that, we will call Jess McNeely, our Assistant Community Development Director, to give us a brief presentation on this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Begay, Supervisors. Again, I'm Jess McNeely with Community Development Department staff. And thank you, Lindsay, for getting the presentation. Is it in presentation mode? Okay, it is. Thanks. As stated by Chair Begay, this is Appeal 2402. It is a request to appeal the Planning and Zoning Commission approval of a conditional use permit, a CUP. That would be CUP 2415, the Winona Wireless Telecommunication Facility, and that proposed tower would be for provision of broadband internet. The appellant in this case is a Mr. Marty Taylor, and I believe he may be with us joining online. Mr. Taylor owns property, lives about 4 miles away from the proposed tower location. His appeal letter that was in your packet was also on behalf of some Alpine Ranchos residents. That would be the resident property who were signatories to that appeal letter. The organization that owns that piece of property at 134 Loop Road is listed as a Three Horsemen. That is an 80-acre property that neighbors the tower site to the east. And on this 80-acre property is a house, and that house is approximately a quarter mile away from the proposed tower location. So that's the appellants. And as stated by the chair, the property owner is Mark Sorensen. I believe Mark Sorensen is with us here this evening. The applicant is ComNet Wireless. They're a broadband provider. And the applicant's representative is Bill Jenkins. He is with us as well. Property is Zone G, general 10-acre minimum. And this specific parcel is about a quarter-acre portion of a 10-acre parcel where the tower would be located. The appellant's request is to reverse or overturn the Planning and Zoning Commission's approval of CUP 2415. And the details on CUP 2415 is that it's a 195-foot tower, and it's proposed to host broadband. It would provide broadband internet in this area. The appeal letter is a one-page letter, is really based on aesthetics, on visual impact, having to see the tower from nearby properties from these property owners whose home is about a quarter mile northeast of the site. And the appeal letter also states some health concerns. And as we note in your staff report, and as we will look at further in this presentation, health concerns cannot be considered by the county when it comes to tower conditional use permits. Health from these facilities with RF radio frequency impacts is regulated by the FCC, and the FCC, of course, is going to permit this as meeting their requirements. This is a vicinity map of kind of the general Alpine Ranchos area. And what you see here is the checkerboard pattern, as we refer to it, with state lands interspersed where we don't have private parcels in this area. And all of the private parcels that you see on this entire image in the Alpine Ranchos area are all Zone G, the general zone. 10 acres are the smallest parcels, such as the application area, but many of these parcels are 40 or larger. In the case of the appellants, 80-acre parcels. So you kind of see the dispersion of the private land in this area. See the Navajo Nation about 3 miles to the east of the proposed tower location, and then Coconino National Forest about 1.5 miles. At the very lower left-hand corner of the slide, the Winona exit from I-40 and some of the Donny Park area near the Winona exit. And you see Loop Road kind of snaking through on this image, kind of going east-west. This is a zoom in on the area, and you see the subject property highlight here. It's the 10-acre parcel owned by Mr. Sorensen. And you see immediately south, you can see all the infrastructure, the rooftops, everything that goes along with the Star School. So there is a significant amount of infrastructure, man-made items on the landscape right in this immediate area because of the location of the Star School. Multiple buildings, solar panels, several towers on their site as well, such as wind turbines. And immediately south of the Star School, on the south side Loop Road, you have a well site. And that well site has some water. People who haul water in this area, this is where they come get their water. So this immediate area right here with the Star School and the well site that you see in this image really becomes a hub in this area where you have a very dispersed population on large acreages. This is where you get a concentration of people. So in many ways, it does make a lot of sense for infrastructure to go at this location where it can better serve people. And there are other man-made items, constructed things on the landscape here in this immediate area. From the subject property that you see highlight here, you do see a couple of rooftops to the west. Those are probably the nearest properties nearby. And I think, let's see, I can make this work. I'm pointing here with the arrow right now to the appellant's house, which is about a quarter mile away to the northeast of the tower site. The tower site kind of goes right in the middle of this 10-acre property that's highlighted. But you can see the appellant's house right here on the 80-acre parcel. And again, that house is about a quarter mile away from the proposed tower site. This is further zoom in on the site, shows where exactly on the 10-acre subject property where the tower would go. And actually, we have a pop-up here because this comes straight out of a screenshot from county GIS, county parcel viewer. And you can see with the little data window that's right there what the address, the tax address of this property is, and you see that Mr. Mark Sorensen is in fact the owner of this property. So these are some images of the actual site. This is standing on the site looking due north, and you actually see the appellant's house there in the distance. That's the one about a quarter mile away from the tower site. And what you're seeing on the tower site right now is a temporary tower, a 60-foot temporary tower that is currently providing ComNet broadband internet. It was put in place with a temporary use permit. It has to be removed. Therefore, the applicant is asking for a permanent conditional use permit for their 195-foot tower. And looking north, this would be standing on the site looking west. So you do see those nearest homes to the tower site. And of course, you see the San Francisco peaks much further in the distance to the west there. This would be standing on the site looking due south. So you see the Star School and a lot of their associated infrastructure. You can see some of their solar panels that are on elevated ground-mounted structures. And they even have a couple of windmills that you see on their property. All right, that's all of our images from the surrounding area. There are some special considerations for tower applications beyond our county's zoning ordinance. The impacts from RF radio frequency radiation is regulated by the federal government, the FCC, not by the county. So the county cannot consider those impacts in making decisions to approve or deny towers such as this. And in addition to our zoning ordinance regulated conditional use permit findings of fact, there are two additional considerations that the county has to consider in tower cases based on federal statutes. The first one is, does the applicant have a gap in coverage in this area? Are they not currently able to serve this area? And then is their proposed tower the least intrusive or least impactful maybe way of addressing that coverage gap? So what is a gap in coverage or significant gap in coverage? It is when a provider, in this case ComNet, has a gap in their coverage. So there is internet available in this general area from Starlink. That would be satellite provided. So it's not that there's no internet period available in this area. It's that this provider, ComNet, has a gap in their coverage. And essentially, federal regulations say they have the right to resolve a gap in their coverage and have coverage in this area. And what does least intrusive means? Basically is that the facility resolves the coverage gap, use our own zoning ordinance and what we've written into our ordinance to determine that least impactful method. Further background on this request, the proposed 195-foot permanent tower would replace the trailer-mounted temporary tower on the site that you saw in the image previously. The tower would provide broadband internet, but once the tower is in place, it can support co-location of cell. So if the cell coverage in this area is not great, by having a tower in this area, you now have the opportunity for cell this tower. And it being under 200 feet in height, there would be no lights on top of this tower. So there's no concern with this tower in having lights on it. So the applicant's reasons for locating on this site and using this particular tower design, the design they propose, is there's no existing towers in this area. If there were existing towers in this area, ComNet would co-locate their equipment on an existing tower as opposed to going to the expense of building their own tower. This particular site is available, it's leasable. So they have to be able to find a site that's on this site. And this particular site does meet the applicant's coverage goals, how far they need to reach to meet their coverage goals. The taller tower, in this case, they're asking for 195 feet to replace the temporary 60-foot tower. The taller tower does allow signal to clear topography, higher hills in the area. And the 195-foot tower will be able to cover more households, more homes than a shorter tower, and therefore reduce the need for additional towers, just going with one taller tower instead of multiple shorter towers. And the design steel truss structure is really the best construction method for a tower of this height. This is a site plan of that quarter-acre spot where the tower will be located within. And this is an elevation drawing of what the lattice structure actually looks like. And you see the steel cross members and that steel truss structure. So the applicant's coverage goal is to provide broadband to as many homes as they can. This site is funded by the FCC's Connect America Fund. And it's really low speeds than what's currently available in the area. The technology on the tower would cover up to a 21-mile radius. So again, this minimizes the number of towers that would be required in this area of the county. So when we look at coverage maps, you see these two blue discs on this map. That shows where ComNet currently has towers. Actually, these are much further east, out towards right about where I'm pointing right here with the mouse is where the application area is, the proposed site for the proposed tower. So when we look at the after image, the red shows the distance that they will be able to go out to with the proposed tower. The RF engineer available on online as well if there are any specific questions about coverage. But you do see that this coverage goes all the way down to the Winona exit, reaches to I-40, and even reaches Twin Arrows and Two Guns. So the applicant provided what we call photo simulations, what an area looks like before a tower is built and what it will look like after a tower is built. So this is a photograph from Loop Road looking northwest. This is what it would look like after. And this is about 1,700 feet from the proposed tower. And likewise, looking east from Star Ridge Trail, this is really where about the nearest homes are along Star Ridge Trail to the proposed tower site, looking towards the tower site and that location on Star Ridge Trail. And this is about 700 feet from the proposed tower. This is standing out on Loop Road, looking at the Star School, looking to the north towards the tower site before. And of course, you can see some of the Star School's infrastructure, their solar panels, their windmills. And this is what it would look like after with the tower. And the last one, this is looking south. So this would be closer to the image of what the appellants would see from the home that's a quarter mile northeast of the site. So looking south currently, and here's what you would see looking south from about 650 feet from the proposed tower. That's where this image is taken from. The appellant's home is about twice that distance from the proposed tower location. Speaking, the comprehensive plan certainly supports towers providing service. We listed 3 policies here, one community service, one in public safety, and one community character that all do support improving wireless service, both cell and broadband, and for multiple reasons, including public safety purposes, and in the community to where they can, where they're convenient to the population being served, and provided that such locations are compatible and complementary with the surrounding area. The county also has a broadband plan that would support this tower location, and you do have a letter in your packet from the county's rural broadband manager stating that this tower is aligned with, supported by the county's broadband plan. It's certainly going to an area that is unserved and underserved, and this will help resolve what's referred to as the digital divide. Currently do not have it. When we look at the county's zoning ordinance, we have a specific section on wireless telecommunication facilities. Within that section, we have a preferred facilities list, 10 items of most preferred to still being preferred. And this proposed location design meets number 4 and number 8 of 10 on the preferred facility list, in that it's a new site on a previously disturbed area, and it's a new tower between 100 and 199 feet in the G general zone. This tower would also fall on the zoning ordinance's disfavored list for towers in that it is adjacent to residential areas. And this is that 1 through 10 of the preferred facilities items straight out of our zoning ordinance. And of course, this hits number 4 and number 8. And this is the list of disfavored facilities, MC, in that this site is adjacent to a residential area. So on the citizen participation and public hearing that already took place for this case, and that it went to the Planning and Zoning Commission where it was approved, the applicant, as required by our ordinance, notified 20 property owners within a quarter mile of the property. They had a meeting at the Star School that was held this past February. 9 people attended the meeting and provided comments. That report is in your packet. Staff, in addition, received 19 comments that were all opposed to the proposed facility. Those are all in your packet as well. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, we just had 4 people speak at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. Of the 4 people who spoke at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, 2 spoke in support of it and 2 spoke opposed to it. So our zoning ordinance has 4 required findings that must be made in order to approve a CUP. These findings, finding A is that the location is consistent really with our zoning ordinance and the purpose of the zone. The Planning and Zoning Commission were able to make that finding. They found that it is consistent with the zoning ordinance in that it ranks both 4 and 8 out of 10 on the preferred facility list. When it comes to finding B, that the location would not be detrimental to public health, safety, welfare, or be harmful to the immediate area. Planning and Zoning Commission was able to make this finding. It would provide broadband internet to this area, be a public benefit to this area, but weighing the benefits with the impacts, it was determined that conditional use would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, and it would not be detrimental to the immediate area. When it comes to finding C, that this proposal would comply with our zoning ordinance. This proposal does in fact comply with our zoning ordinance. And then finding D, that the request is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission was able to make that finding based on the comprehensive plan policies that we reviewed a minute ago. And again, the federal statutes that we've already covered, according to the applicant, and they're here to speak with you. They certainly determined they have a gap in coverage. When their temporary tower goes away, they no longer have coverage at all in this area, and the proposed tower would have coverage out to the area that they have a gap in that they need to cover. And they see this as the least impactful means of resolving that gap in coverage. This is a flow chart provided by the attorney's office that kind of discusses many of the things that we've already gone over. We analyze these cases, conditional use permits for towers based first on our findings required in our zoning ordinance that we've been through. These can be approved based on those findings. If the findings can't be made, then the county has to go into the analysis of, is there a gap in coverage, and is this the least impactful means of resolving that gap in coverage? And with that, we certainly pass on. They made the findings and approved this request. The board can uphold the Planning and Zoning Commission's decision with approval of Resolution 2461, and that would include the conditions that were placed on this conditional use permit by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jess, for the presentation. Are there any board members that have any questions at this time?
I'm going to wait until after the public hearing to get their comments.
Anybody else afterwards? Okay. I will go ahead and give the floor to the applicant.
Hello, I'm Marty Taylor, and I'm the applicant. Number one, that photograph that was presented to you indicating
I believe this is the appellant. So
Correct.
I believe we're starting with the applicant,
sorry.
who would have been the conditional use permit applicant.
Yeah, we're the applicant.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is William Jenkins. My company, CIS Communications. I represent ComNet Wireless on the proposal that you have presentation covered for the most part everything that I was going to cover here. Certainly open to questions on it. Wayne Neal, who's joining us remotely, who is ComNet's RF engineer, he's certainly available to answer any specific questions on coverage and all those types of items. So certainly have the floor open to him for those types of the findings of fact that the P&Z Commission came to, and findings. I did want to, as a formality, request that the minutes from that meeting be put on the record as well. If they already aren't, was in favor of this with their staff report. P&Z did approve this, and that we had a number of residents that showed up at P&Z and spoke on behalf of the project. So consensus is that this was needed by the community. I was going to give a little description of the site and the coverage, but I think one thing I will note, and our RF engineer would probably on, why do we have the blue existing tower site, and why does the coverage look so different? And technology that's being used with the new proposed site, it's CBRS, which is ComNet has purchased one of the general access licenses to that spectrum. So it's a little bit different than what's used on those two other sites that are existing. And the other ones, well, there is quite a bit of a different terrain scenario out there where the Winona site's presented, that coverage. So that's kind of where you see that scattered coverage pattern. So least intrusive means of getting coverage out there. So right now at this particular location, absolutely none. And not only does my client have zero coverage, but really a few the exact coverage of the major carriers out there. But I can tell you firsthand, I've been out there with AT&T service, one bar at best. I've had people we were talking earlier with Verizon. Really, that area is devoid of coverage. So this is for these folks to get a reliable broadband signal and have high-speed coverage out there. Least way that you get coverage out at these sites is by building towers. There's really no way around that. You can build them taller, you can build them shorter. The effect that you can very, very dense or more dense urban suburban areas. When you get out into suburban areas, urban areas, you're looking at rooftops that may be 50, 60, 70 feet tall. This is obviously a very rural area, hence the need for a theoretical level, could you go out there and cover this? And the reason I'm going through this is because this was a big question that was brought up at P&Z. Could we accomplish the same thing with multiple towers? I mean, from a theoretical standpoint, yes, you can build many, many sites and cover this area. From a practical standpoint, ends are a big necessity out here. The reason that the site's getting built is because there's federal funding for it. Otherwise, without that federal funding, at least in the near future and probably medium term as well, would never be built. There's just not a economic model out there that makes sense for it. So with that federal funding, ComNet is able to get out there and create that coverage for the broadband system. To add on to that as well is that although this particular tower is for ComNet, it's open to all of the carriers out. Verizon, AT&T will go on this, or T-Mobile, but a much, much higher likelihood that this area will be covered with that particular tower here. So with that, to move into really just two issues on it, it was the aesthetic issue, the health concerns. We talked about the health concerns. Everybody's aware of that. But with the visual issue, I will say this. These towers exist in the county out there from the East Coast to the West Coast. I provided to staff earlier on this evening. I think they may have distributed other sites that are out here in the county. There's more of them, but these are just two sites that are very similar. They're out in, they're similar heights. I think they're 183, 184 feet respectively. And this is really county. And again, there's many, many other sites that are in the county already as well. So, with that, I'd certainly open it up to any questions. Again, Wayne Neal, the RF engineer, is available for any questions, and I'm at your disposal.
Thank you for the presentation. I guess the three presentations are going to be done, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just, Deb Hallen to come and do the presentation.
Marty Taylor, I'm here.
Anybody here.
Hello, everyone.
Okay,
Good evening.
go ahead.
Yeah, first off, this presentation that was done by Mr. Neely, I believe that photograph was of the, sorry, look at my notes here. In the original application was not accurate. None of the property owners were informed of that, about that meeting. We actually found out about it on a whim and were able to attend it. And in that meeting, we asked questions about being over 260 something. There aren't that many people out here. That's grossly over exaggerated. The other issues that we've got a lot of wildlife flying out here and several different birds of prey. And those towers do present a danger to them. That's kind of funny. I got it skipped. This tower up. I actually had to call Mr. Jenkins and asked him to stop trespassing on the property. And after 2 calls, they finally did stop the repairs to the damage that they have created on that road, on the property. I've had several other neighbors in the same area. You tell that information was just disregarded. I don't have much else to say on that. Just that's all I have right now.
Okay.
I did provide all this information to the county, but they didn't see to it that it would meet this meeting.
Okay, thank you. The board have any
Thank you.
questions at this time?
Yes, and I do note that in the staff report, it indicates the applicant notified 20 property to be held at Star School on February 15th. So it'd probably, given the fact that there's now a question as to whether there was proper notice, just what was the notice used and was a statutory notice provided?
Mr. McNeely?
The zoning ordinance requires a quarter-mile notification for all tower applications, for tower conditional use permit applications. Staff reviews the applicant's list system of who those property owners are as listed by the assessor who owns those properties. So all of the properties within a quarter mile were notified of the citizen participation plan and of the hearings.
How were they notified? What method was used to notify them?
They're notified by mail.
So that's been determined by the requirements for planning and zoning for notification were met.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions by the board? There being none, I will go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. It's in the public hearing. Announce your name and place of residence. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please make sure that your comments are directed to the topic. Clerk Daly, please virtually can provide public comments.
Thank you, Chair Begay. At this time, if there's anyone that would like to provide a comment on this public hearing item, we have comment forms by the door on the table that you can fill out. And I do have 2 comment forms that have been filled out. You can hit the raise hand icon that will appear at the bottom of your screen. If you hover towards the bottom, it looks like a hand. If you click on that, that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to *9, and that will raise your hand and notify us that you would like to speak. Again, I do have 2 comment forms, so I'll go ahead and we'll start with those here in the room. 3 minutes, we'll set the clock. It'll alert you when your time has run out, and if you could please state your name and address for the minutes.
Hi there, Michael Schroll. I own Gateway Ranch at 77 Loop Road. Drive by the Star School and this proposed location every time. I just want to share my support for this because having federal funds to build a tower here changes the economics of cell phone providers being able to co-locate their equipment there and opens up the possibility in the future that we could get T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T to have equipment there and provide cellular coverage, which I believe would be an advantageous thing for public safety in the area. Any kind of concern of anyone who's driving by that area of Loop Road, which serves many more people than even the proposed broadband that ComNet themselves would do. I think that longer term, this is a step in the right direction to get better coverage in that way out to this area. I'm in support of it for passing through of the area, coverage that I would get at my property to be both a broadband customer and cellular customer, potentially in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Lindsay?
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Sorensen. If you can please come up and we'll start the clock for 3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's been a long night. I'm glad to be here to give you my view on this. So I'm Mark Sorensen. I'm the co-founder of the Star School, and I'm also the property owner of this project. So I want to bring to your attention that during the pandemic, our school discovered that virtually a third of our parents did not have adequate internet coverage. Those students ended up losing a full year of educational services, even though we provided printed documents to go to the home. Those students did not have internet and were not able to take advantage of instruction. And we're still dealing with the aftermath of those students not having proper internet at home. So this project was begun with the idea that we would find something that would help provide service. This particular tower will provide service to 50 families on the reservation, and in addition to 200 other families that are located on the western side of the reservation. So our school serves a population that's almost entirely Navajo. And it's our hope, as our members of our community have already spoken, that this will not only provide internet service now, but it will also provide the opportunity for increased cell phone service in the near future. And so we believe, of course, if we had a choice, we'd like to have this disguised as a ponderosa pine or something like that. But 190-foot ponderosa pine might not look so disguised out there. But this is what we have to work with right now, and we think it's a legitimate positive step in developing our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Yes, we do have someone that is joined by telephone, and it has a phone number. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. I don't know your name. If you can just unmute yourself. It's the number 928-607-5597. So I have allowed you to speak. If you can go ahead and mute yourself, state your name and address for the minutes, and we'll start your time for 3 minutes.
My name is Charlene Slaughter, and my address is 7500 Dalton Road in Flagstaff. I own property right there next to the Star School, and my request tonight is actually of the owner there, Mark Sorensen, and the applicant is I do support, education for children, getting, more amenities, the internet, of course, for them. But I would request of Mark Sorensen to kindly move the tower closer to his property and further away from the homes. And I mean, not being an engineer, but I can see that it could be done, because that level of land, the hill that the tower is currently planned to be on, is the same level further south. So if he can move it back toward his house and not where my home is going to be built, so that when I walk out my front door, my front of my hogan, I don't have this tower right at my front door, because my door will be facing east. And my house has to be built up on the hill and not in the basin area where it could flood. So, but that's my request of him. And I thank you tonight for hearing me.
Thank you for your comment.
Next, we do have someone that is on the virtual format named Jeff. Jeff, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jeff Skinner. I live about 1 mile south of the proposed tower, right um, below the Star School. I'm against this for a couple of reasons. One of them is the aesthetics. While the gentleman from the communications company mentioned that there are other towers like this in the county, there's really nothing even remotely close to this out here. And it really changes the aesthetic out here for those of us that are out here. The other part that disturbs me is this is a federal grant for broadband.
Excuse me, Jeff.
Yeah.
We're having trouble hearing you. Can you please speak up?
Yes, is that better?
No, I need to speak a little louder.
Okay.
Is this better?
There you go.
Sorry about that. Did you hear what I said before,
No.
or do I need to repeat
No,
that?
we'll go ahead and start the clock back for 3 minutes.
Okay, my apologies. I have some issues with it from an aesthetic point. I live about the current tower is very visible, and the new tower would be obviously twice as visible. Okay, there are other towers like this in the county. There's certainly nothing remotely comparable out in this part of the woods, and that was part of the reason why I moved out here. This is, showing that it's a one of the rationales for putting this tower in as a gap of coverage. Mostly everybody's phone carriers on there, which I feel might be a reason that they're trying to do this, because there's only, as of the potential customers that the tower could reach. And everybody I know out here that has internet is pretty much moved to Starlink. So we're all adequately served at the moment. So I don't feel like this is going to change anything. It's more just a vehicle to use federal funds to make money off of getting cellular carriers onto the tower. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, those are all of the hands that we have raised on the virtual side. Is there anyone else here in the room that wanted to provide a comment during this public hearing item? We do have 2 comments that came into our board comment email. I did print one for the supervisors. These both came in this morning. So I'll just quickly read those for the record of what was received in our office. The first comment came in this morning from Faith Marguerite. Her comment is, I'm sorry, not from Faith, from Deborah Kamzelski. Came in this afternoon at 2:33. And she states, my comment is very simple and to the point. I am in opposition to the proposed cell tower off Loop Road near Star School. It's not in my best interest. Deborah Kamzelski. There was another comment that came in at 7:31 a.m. this morning from Faith Walker. It states, dear board members, I have property in Alpine Ranchos and am against the proposed communications tower. Best, Faith Walker. Those are the 2 comments that we received in writing. Those are all the hands that we have raised on the virtual format, and we do not have any more comment forms for speakers.
Okay, I want to thank everyone that has made comments here this evening regarding this item. And I guess if there are no other comments for the item, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, supervisors, are there any questions, comments, or statements of findings regarding the case for the record?
I mean,
Supervisor.
I actually have a couple questions before I'm going to have some other comments as well. But my questions are, I did take a look at the letters that the P&Z received basically against the CUP or the awarding of the CUP. And I know we've talked about some of them, the aesthetics and visual. I think we've talked about that. Health concerns, you've explained that that's under the sole jurisdiction of FCC. They had brought some other concerns, property value, wildlife safety, and emergency generator noise. And I guess this is just for the county. Have the county taken a look at that? Did they consider this? Did they consider these concerns? And what was the belief of the county and the P&Z on this?
Go ahead,
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam Chair.
McNeely.
And thank you, Supervisor Horstman. Yes, those were considered. Our wildlife planner, the county's wildlife planner reviewed this request and did not see any wildlife concerns. Actually, this tower design, it does not require what we call guy wires that extend out from the tower. Those are usually a health concern. So this choice in tower design is life. And when it comes to the noise concern from the backup generator, of course, this would be a backup generator, will only come on when necessary, when the solar is not powering. The approval in staff report that were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Noise from the generator on the tower site shall be limited to 50 dB at the property line. That's a common condition that gets placed on a lot of conditional use permits with noise concerns. So those things were addressed. Was there an additional one? It's typically even lower than background traffic noise. When we have applications that are up against one of our interstate highways, say I-17 or I-40, the traffic from the interstate highway that hits the when it gets to the site. And of course, it's as measured at the property line. So the burden is on the applicant to keep the noise at 50 dB or lower at the property line. I wish I could remember off the top of my head what the equivalent was, a humming refrigerator or a conversation or something of what's the equivalent of 50 dB. But that is the one standard that we have written into our zoning ordinance for certain other uses and is our typical standard that gets applied to conditional use permits to ensure that noise coming off of the site does not negatively impact surrounding properties. So, Madam Chair, Supervisor Horstman, property value for when it comes to making findings for conditional use permits or zone changes for that matter, property value consideration is always speculative and really can't be quantifiably proven one way or another as impacting. So that's just not something that 100% quantified.
Thank you. And I just wanted to make sure that because these were concerns were raised over and over again on the letters. So I wanted to make sure that these were in fact reviewed by the county and by P&Z before P&Z made their recommendation for the approval.
Yes, in fact, they were.
Okay, Supervisor Fowler.
Yes, there was a question that just came in about the property owner having moved a tower. Was that asked at the PNC or is that something to consider? How far is it from that particular property?
So thank you, Chair Gay, Supervisor Fowler. That request did not come to the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. The same request to move the tower from the Zoning Commission hearing. Obviously, the applicant has already analyzed the site for where they would place the tower on the site, and they've done their analysis, their propagation maps, those colored circles that you saw previously based on that site. But I would defer that question to the applicant. If the applicant wanted to choose to be flexible with their tower location, that would really be up to them on whether they could still meet their coverage goals, meet the intent of this tower, and potentially move it. I know they've done the analysis on exactly where they need to put it.
Okay. Was there a consideration for to have the tower be not as tall as 195? Why? Question again, if I may, applicant.
Sure. So to touch on the height, the 195 feet is it's really the ideal height that they need for the coverage that they need to get out in that area for their FCC mandates. Ideally, they'd probably like to be higher. The reason we're keeping it lit, so at 195, there'll be absolutely no lighting on the tower whatsoever, and that's why we're proposing slightly under the 200 feet. To touch back on the question regarding fairly large compounds that they're developing, if you take a look at the survey that was part of staff's report, you can see the topography of the area. It is actually fairly hilly out there, and the site location that they picked, that's actually why they have that temporary site sitting out there. We picked that site not only for coverage reasons, we picked it because it's the most constructible site out there. ComNet's already filed for FAA, FCC at those very specific coordinates. The reason we picked that location as well is because the county obviously has location setbacks regarding the height of the tower, setbacks from the property line and what. We already did environmentals at that location. So as part of any tower that's being built, you have to go through what's called a SHPO and NEPA process. And we hire outside environmental consultants to do that. They've already gone through and started that process. And I think, don't quote me, but I think they've actually finalized that as well with those reports. And again, those are very, very specific to the dot on the coordinate of where they do those reports. And then also we've done geotechs out there. And as many of you are aware, geotechs are very specific on where you do the geotech where the tower is going to go. So we've already done all of that due diligence. We need all of the county required setback to begin with. to move it around at this point would be impossible for my client to do.
I have a question. Given the area that is going to service from the site that is going to be built at, how far would it be going towards loop, north, south, east, and west, the coverage?
In terms of the mile distance on the call, Wayne Neal, he has much more of the info on the exact distances and whatnot.
Mr. Neal, you are muted. You can go ahead and
Can
speak.
you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. Wayne Neal, Wilco Telecom Consulting, serving as RF engineer for ComNet. Are significant terrain challenges. So most of our coverage to the northeast and southeast at our farthest distances. At both of those, we're covering to about 1.2 miles. And if we rotate around the compass slightly, we are at west. We are at about 4.5 miles.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments by the board? Supervisor Horstman?
Yes, if there aren't any other questions, I'd be prepared to make some findings. So if I may, Madam Chair, what I would note is that this, in fact, is a CUP process that's appropriate. The 190-foot wireless telecom facility in G zone, which is 10-acre minimum. So it certainly meets the requirements for CUP process according to our zoning laws. Is for us to be able to weigh the public benefits versus the visual impacts. The aesthetic that we've got going on the project, the health concerns we've talked about are limited to FCC. Property value is speculative and really not appropriate for consideration. I do not find the emergency generator noise to really be a big problem within here. And that sounds like wildlife safety was in fact looked at by our wildlife experts and was not found to be weighing the public benefits versus the negative. And there's always a negative to anything you do. You notice that? And in this particular case, we do have a 195-foot wireless pole up there, even if it's a lattice pole. But I think we have to take a look at what the public benefit is being offered here. We have promoted rural broadband internet. The comprehensive plan specifically talks about enhancing wireless and broadband infrastructure to do so and to provide it for our rural area, enhances public safety. It does provide, it has been defined as underserved. When it's up and running, it's going to be able to provide higher speeds. That's probably why there's federal funding available for this tower. And with a tower there, it is highly likely it's going to open up better coverage for cell providers. I am interested to hear what Mark Sorensen had said about the importance for students and families that live in that general area. Again, this is an underserved area, and it does provide them internet access. And so I find there's a great public benefit. And then if you take a look at the 95-foot tower, however, I'm going to state that that's going to be offset because we're dealing with 10-acre minimum. We're saying, Jess, that the average is approximately 40-acre average. So it does reduce the visual impact. This is an area that I've driven by many times. Why not to the reservation and to public schools out there? And there is already a lot of visual disturbance, if you will, in the area with other poles and electric poles. Exact does not supersede the public benefit. And I think there is a great public benefit here. So I have to agree with the planning and zoning conclusions and findings, which were included on page 17 and 18 in the information presented to us. I find that the proposed location of the conditional use is in accordance with the objectives of the ordinance and the purpose of the zone in which the site is located. And I agree with the commission's response. I also find that the proposed location of the conditional use and the conditions under which it would be operated or maintained are not detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the vicinity. And I do agree with the commission's response and findings on that. I also find that the proposed conditional use will comply with each of the applicable provisions of this ordinance, except for the approved variances. And I do agree with the commission's response on that. The last commission finding, I find that the proposed conditional use is consistent with and conforms to the goals, objectives, and policies of the general plan or specific plan for the area, and specifically the comprehensive plan, which I referred to earlier, and also agree with the findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And so even though I know that we've met the findings according to our own planning and zoning regulations and policies, I also find that the FCC's requirements, and that is gap in coverage. I'm convinced with the information that's been presented through our county staff that there is a gap in coverage with regards to this provider. And also, I believe with the information provided by our county staff that this is in fact being presented in the least intrusive way. No other towers in the area, for example. The higher tower is for clearer signal and because of the terrain in the area and the attempt to use the lattice tower. So because of that, and I don't know if other board members have findings they would like to make, but I would be prepared to make a motion if there are no other comments from the board.
Are there any comments by the board? Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, staff, for bringing it. The applicant, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the public comment and the concerns. In weighing this, we're looking at a situation where for our county, we need to increase rural broadband. This is part of that plan. And while I really feel for those that will impact their visual, view from their home based on this tower, we need this tower moving forward to provide broadband in that area. And so based on the findings that have been provided, I am comfortable with approving the appeal approving the tower moving forward. So thank you.
Supervisor Fowler?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for all the work. I know this is a long process just to get their approval and come before the board. Well, the planning and zoning, they really do a great job. I want to just thank the planning and zoning. This is a project that does meet our comprehensive plan. It does meet our broadband plan. We have a support letter from our rural broadband director in support of this. And, you know, it is going to be a long tower or tall tower, but, you know, reaching all the communities, families that need it, that's really important. And so from the Board of Supervisors, public benefit, and that's what we're looking at right here. And we're not, there's certain things we can't make decisions on. Those were outlined, and we just want to make sure that the public benefit is there. And we also need to, you know, these federal dollars are once in a lifetime dollars that have come through. And so this is on broadband. We have meetings about broadband. This is what they're talking about, is the end goal to be able to cover our rural residents. Coconino County is the second largest county in the country with one of the most rural counties in the country. So I am in support of this. I am glad that Supervisor Horstman went through the findings. I too find those same findings, and just to add with these comments. Thank you.
Supervisor Hess?
Really simple. The other supervisor made the great statements, and I agree with their views, and I think the benefits outweigh the issues. So I'm for also.
Thank you for the presentation. Long time coming, and I just want to say that I'm looking at the safety, the emergencies that happen where people can't even go and get their phones to work, you know, call out and not even have internet services for their education, doing their homework, and you know, and then also there's dollars here now that we really need to do something with it, you know, for as far as broadband. And then also we understand that Starlink is pretty much these two, and this is straight from the people that live around that area, and also the ones that have come in contact our office. So I just want to say I will support of this initiative, and the benefits do outweigh, you know, everything else here. And so with that, I will go ahead and ask Supervisor Horstman to make a motion at this time.
Thank you, and I appreciate my colleagues' comments on findings as well. At this point, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-61, upholding the Planning and Zoning Commission's approval of CUP 24-015, a 195-foot wireless telecommunication facility on a 0.23 acre portion of a 9.98 acre G zone parcel in Alpine Ranchos, and the property is located at 16105 Star Bridge Trail and is further identified as parcel number 303-25-00H. Property owner is Mark Sorensen, a flag, and the applicant is ComNet Wireless of Castle Rock, Colorado. I would, in addition to a motion to accept this resolution, add the conditions of approval as set forth in the staff report provided to us on page 10 of 19 of the staff report on adding to the resolution.
Motion's been made by Supervisor Horseman, seconded by Supervisor Fowler. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. We are now at the discussion items, county manager update. We still have government director's report. Then we still have Mr. Bertelson, county manager, and then we have the supervisor district reports too. So I don't know how you guys want to handle this. It's 9:30 now. How does the board wish to do? Anything
Chair
that's
Begay, members of the board, thank you very much for the offer and the interest of time. I would waive our time with you tonight. I think that we've had a productive meeting this evening, and I don't want to belabor it any longer.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah, you emailed us.
It's 9:30
updates, so
p.m.
thank you.